Good morning. I'm Tom Sharpless. I practice spherical panography in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And for the last 5 years or so, I've specialized in stereoscopic spherical panography, that is making 360-degree immersive images that can be viewed in 3D. I have over that period of time learned to do it fairly routinely, and this series of videos is intended to help anybody else who wants to try doing stereopanography the old-fashioned way with a rotating camera to achieve the same results. Shooting a stereo panorama the way I do it is essentially the same as shooting a normal panorama, except you use two cameras instead of one. This is a pair of Sony A5100s mounted on a heavily modified Nodal Ninja 3 panorama head, and they're sitting side by side on this bar, clamped down by the feet on Nodal Ninja lens rings. The lenses are Samyang 8mm f/2.8 diagonal fisheyes, a very excellent lens. It covers about 150 degrees vertically by 105 degrees horizontally on this format of camera. The cameras are triggered electronically by a radio remote connected through a diode box that decouples the cameras from each other so they don't trigger each other. And the whole thing sits on a Nodal Ninja pole rotator, which I use as a universal click stop device. In this case, it's a 45-degree click stop, so this apparatus is set up to shoot 8 around. I should point out that the lenses, although they're centered horizontally on the rotation axis, are displaced forward of it by about 10 millimeters, as well as, of course, left and right by about 32 millimeters each. It's 65 millimeters between the centers of the lenses. And that's as close as you. Yeah, they could be squeezed a little closer together, but 65 millimeters is standard human eye spacing, so that's what I use. But having the lenses displaced forward is very important because it gives them a view all the way to the ground at the nadir, and I have learned to stitch multi-row or two-row spherical panoramas rather reliably over the last few years, but I have never figured out a way to patch in a separately acquired stereoscopic nadir. I don't think it can be done routinely at any rate, so I rely on the lower row of images to cover everything right up to the nadir, and I use either a very small tripod or a monopod with a small foot, and that leaves me with just a little tiny nadir obstruction, which I clone out in Photoshop. Oh, there's also a gadget on here that gives me the effect of a vertical click stop. I just squeeze this up against the bar and tighten that. That's down 22.5 degrees. When I want to tilt up 22.5 degrees, I push this thing against the vertical arm the other way, up 22.5, and those are my two rows. That gives me a large overlap vertically between the two rows, and just barely covers the zenith and the nadir. So to take a spherical panorama, I would say first tilt the lenses up for 22.5 degrees, click, 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 click. You can do this pretty fast. You have to wait for the tripod to stop vibrating before you release the shutter. And then, whoop, down 22, click, 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 and that's all there is to it. That's how you acquire a 2-row spherical panorama in stereo. Of course, stitching them is a bit harder, and that's the main subject of this video.